So, introduction. According to the World Climate Change Vulnerability Index, Nigeria is one of the 10 most vulnerable countries to climate change in the world. The effect of global warming and subsequent change in the climatic conditions is already evident in Nigeria. The country is becoming warmer on both annual and seasonal timescales with marked variability in the mean temperature conditions. Extreme events and weather variability such as droughts, floods, erosion, and sea level rise all impact the nation. These extreme climate events are expected to be more severe in the future. The arid and semi-arid areas of northern Nigeria will be more vulnerable to climate change in the long run than any other part of the country, with a high probability of tending towards alteration between periods of floods and drought. Furthermore, the country will be subject to changes in rainfall and temperature conditions, particularly towards the end of the century. Climate change remains a serious and long-term threat in undermining development across all sectors of Nigeria's economy and poses a significant threat to the achievement of the development goals, especially those related to eliminating poverty and hunger and promoting environmental sustainability. The cause of climate change inaction, business as usual, could cost Nigeria an estimated 2 to 11% of GDP. The 2012 flood event, for instance, cost Nigeria $16.9 billion in loss and damages, representing 1.4% of GDP growth that year. In addition, climate change induced declining agricultural productivity will cause the country up to 4.5% of its GDP, about $75 billion by 2050. The challenge now is to keep climate change from becoming a catastrophe. Global response to climate change. Responding to climate change falls into two broad classes of action: mitigation and adaptation. Mitigation of human-induced climate change refers to measures that may either reduce the increase in greenhouse emissions abatement or increase in terrestrial storage of carbon. Adaptation refers to all those responses to climate change that may be used to reduce vulnerability to the effects of climate change. Climate change is a global problem which requires a global response. It is the responsibility of all countries to take coordinated action to reduce emissions and to adapt to climate change. The world is now experiencing the impacts of a rapidly heating climate, and further warming is inevitable. Even on the most ambitious pathways for the reduction of global greenhouse gas emissions, adaptation actions are needed to reduce climate impacts on the most vulnerable and emissions reductions that are essential to meet the long-term temperature goal. In 2015, parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC, adopted the Paris Agreement aimed at strengthening the global response to the threat of climate change by keeping the global temperature rise this century well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, and to pursue efforts to limit the temperature increase even further to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Nationally determined contributions